Kevin Stefanski's name is now tied to one of the boldest mid-season decisions in recent NFL memory. After weeks of mounting losses and relentless media scrutiny, Stefanski pulled the trigger. Shedeur Sanders will start in Week 4. What began as whispers around the Browns' facility about quarterback infusion has erupted into a full-blown national talking point. With the offense dragging through an 8-game skid and fans begging for a spark, Stefanski has turned to a rookie he once sidelined, now asking him to save a collapsing season. But this isn't just about giving Sanders a shot.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
It's about a coach putting his job on the line in real time. This quarterback switch isn't just a tactical move. It's a reckoning. Stefanski has faced escalating criticism for his stagnant play calling and poor rookie development, and Sanders' elevation underscores the desperate pivot. What's at stake isn't only the next game, but the entire future of the Browns franchise. If Stefanski can't prove that he's still capable of leading this locker room, and fast, Cleveland may be staring down the barrel of a full-blown teardown. Kevin Stefanski just detonated a bombshell in Cleveland, and honestly, the smoke hasn't even cleared yet. Shedeur Sanders is officially the Week 4 starter for Browns. Let that sink in. After weeks of confusion, criticism, and quarterback chaos, the head coach of N0, to 3-team riding an 8-game losing streak, just made the boldest, riskiest, and possibly most desperate move of his tenure. And the league? Yeah, everyone's watching. This isn't just a shakeup. It's a full-on organizational earthquake. Browns fans are stunned. Analysts are confused. And the locker room? Let's just say the vibe is somewhere between tense silence and slow boiling mutiny. Because the decision to start Sanders isn't happening in a vacuum. It's the result of weeks, months of dysfunction. And now it's reaching a boiling point. Let's rewind. Stefanski has been catching heat all season long. His offense has been called everything from stale to straight-up obsolete. Creativity? Nowhere to be found. And for a team already struggling to score, this is not the system you want to be trapped in. Then came the quarterback shuffle. Instead of building chemistry or establishing consistency, Stefanski spent the early season cycling through QBs like a confused Madden player. Sanders and Gabriel were left hanging while Bailey Zapp, yes, Zapp, was getting scout team reps. That decision alone caused a total uproar. Analysts and insiders couldn't figure out what Stefanski was trying to do. Was he protecting Sanders? Was he panicking? Or was he just lost? Whatever the logic was, it backfired spectacularly. The offense looked disjointed. The receivers weren't in sync. And most importantly, the team kept losing. Every week brought new questions about Stefanski's grip on the locker room and whether he had a long-term vision at all. Now fast forward to Week 4. The Browns are winless. Morale is in the basement. And all eyes are on a team that seems to be unraveling in real time. So Stefanski pulls the trigger. Shedeur Sanders is officially QB1. This is the same Shedeur Sanders who's been benched from scout team duties just weeks prior. The same Sanders who's been caught in the storm of failed offensive schemes and questionable development choices. Suddenly, he's the guy. And the message from Stefanski? This is the move that's going to change everything. Only is it? Because this isn't a clean reboot. This is damage control in the middle of a slow-motion car crash. And it's not just the coaching that's under fire. Behind the scenes, the organization is in full-blown turmoil. Sources are pointing to deep fractures within the front office. There's tension between leadership and coaching. Players are reportedly frustrated, even disillusioned. And fans? They're flooding social media with calls for heads to roll. If you scroll through Brown's Twitter right now, it's a battlefield. The hashtags may be missing, but the rage is loud and clear. And that's not all. The preseason, already seen as chaotic and directionless, didn't help set the tone. There was no clear plan to develop QB chemistry. There was no offensive identity to build around. And now, we're watching the consequences unfold on live TV every Sunday. Critics have been warning about this for weeks. You can't waste talent by forcing it into a broken system. Yet that's exactly what's happened with Sanders and others. There's been no roadmap, no structure, Just repetition, regression, and red flags. And while Shedeur is saying all the right things publicly, insiders say his body language tells a different story. He looks like a player waiting to be handed the reins, or possibly waiting for a ticket out. Because yes, there's already league chatter about a potential trade. And with Joe Burrow out injured in Cincinnati, don't think for a second the Bengals haven't noticed. Sanders, with his upside and long-term potential, is a serious option. If Cleveland doesn't get together, and soon, they may not just lose games. They could lose their future quarterback, too. And if that happens, that's not just another L on the record. That's franchise-altering failure. Now, let's talk about Stefanski. His whole narrative has flipped. Once praised for poise and leadership, he now looks defensive, out of sync, and increasingly in over his head. He's stuck running an offense that feels like it was designed for 2015, not today's NFL. No adaptability, no spark, just rinse, repeat, lose. And the pressure? It's crushing. Insiders say ownership is already exploring exit strategies. There's talk of potential mid-season firings, of coaching resets and front office shakeups. If the Browns don't turn around fast, this could be the end of the Stefanski era. Not in January. Now, the next few games are everything. Because as bad as it's been, this season could still be salvaged. Sanders is talented. There's no question about that. But he needs a system that works. A coaching staff that believes in him. And a locker room that isn't eating itself alive from the inside. Right now, he doesn't have any of that. And let's not forget, this isn't just about one quarterback or one coach. This is about the whole operation. From preseason planning to play calling to locker room leadership, every part of the machine is misfiring. The offensive philosophy hasn't just stalled. It's actively undermining player development, especially for young QBs like Sanders. That's the tragedy here. You have the pieces. But instead of building, you're wasting. The team is stuck in a loop of conservative play calling, confused depth charts, and leadership that seems more reactive than visionary. And while Cleveland struggles to find a pulse, the rest of the league is watching closely. Because if this thing collapses, and let's be real, it's already cracking, it won't be a quiet fall. A mid-season overhaul could spark a domino effect that changes everything, from draft strategy to free agency to long-term coaching futures. The Browns are teetering on the edge of full collapse. This isn't just a slump. It's a crisis. And the next few weeks will determine whether this team claws its way back to relevance or spirals into a complete reset. So where does that leave us? A coach under fire. A rookie QB thrown into chaos. A locker room fraying at the seams. And a fan base losing patience by the hour. If Stefanski can somehow stabilize this mess, if Sanders can deliver under pressure, it could mark a turning point. But if things keep unraveling, we're looking at a team on the verge of being torn down and rebuilt from scratch. And in Cleveland, that's starting to feel more like inevitability than possibility. If you've been following this saga, now's the time to sound off. Are you backing Shedeur? Is Stefanski done? Should the Browns just hit reset already? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like the video if you're screaming into the void with the rest of us. And if you want the full breakdown of every NFL meltdown, every QB switch-up, every chaotic front office spiral, don't forget to subscribe. We got a front row seat to the drama. And trust us, it's just getting started. So now that Shedeur Sanders is officially the starter, let's talk about what this really means to Browns and what it says about where this franchise is headed. Because on the surface, it might look like a bold pivot, like Stefanski finally throwing out the broken blueprint and going all in on raw talent. But dig a little deeper, and the cracks start to show, again, this wasn't some long-term plan reaching its logical conclusion. This was a panicked swing in the dark, a gamble made under pressure. And if it doesn't pay off immediately, the consequences could be brutal. The organization is already under siege. The fan base has been watching this team disintegrate week after week, and the patience, what little was left, is gone. We're talking about a franchise that's been starving for consistency, for something to believe in. And now they're supposed to rally behind a coach who just spent the first 3 weeks of the season bouncing between quarterbacks and pretending like Bailey Zapp was the answer? The optics are awful. There's no way around it. And as for Sanders, you can't help but feel like he's being thrown into the deep end with no life jacket. He wasn't getting scout team reps just a couple weeks ago. He wasn't part of any cohesive developmental strategy. He's stepping into a system that's barely functioning, behind an offensive line that's been inconsistent, and into a locker room where trust and leadership is already eroding. This isn't a setup for success. It's a Hail Mary disguised as a promotion. But here's the twist. Shedeur might still deliver. Because despite all the dysfunction, the guy has talent. He has the poise, the arm, the awareness. You can see the upside. And maybe that's why the league is buzzing. Even with everything working against him, he's still the most compelling storyline in Cleveland right now. He's still the one person on this roster that gives fans a reason to care, which is why this isn't just about wins and losses anymore. It's about survival. If Sanders thrives, Stefanski might just buy himself some time, not a full redemption arc. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, but enough to finish the season without getting the axe. But if this doesn't work, if Sanders flops because of a broken scheme, or worse, gets injured trying to run an offense designed in the Stone Age, then we're looking at a franchise-altering disaster. And let's not ignore the noise coming out of the Bengals camp. With Joe Burrow injured and no clear contingency plan in place, the idea of Shedeur ending up in Cincinnati is no longer just a fantasy. It's a very real possibility that people inside the league are taking seriously. Think about that for a second. The Browns finally get their hands on a quarterback with franchise potential. They mishandle his development, surround him with dysfunction, bench him, start him, throw him into chaos, and then potentially lose him to a division rival? You want to talk about poetic failure? That's Shakespearean-level collapse. And yet, if you've been paying attention to how this season's played out, it wouldn't even be that surprising, because what we're seeing now is a consequence of leadership that never seemed to have a plan. Stefanski has looked lost since preseason. The front office hasn't inspired confidence. And the internal reports about friction, about fractured relationships, about whisper regrets, only make things look worse. At some point, you have to ask, who's really in charge here? Is there a vision, a roadmap, or is this just a group of people making reactive decisions week by week, hoping something sticks before the roof caves in? The shift to Sanders feels like the latter. It doesn't reek of strategy. It smells like desperation. And that's what makes it so risky. Because if you're Shedeur Sanders, you're walking into a situation where you might become the scapegoat. If the offense fails again, will Stefanski admit the scheme is a problem? Or will Sanders get blamed for not being ready, despite being kept on ice for weeks? That's the trap. And it's one that rookies often fall into when organizations are in chaos. But here's the part that really stings. This could have been avoided. With the right development plan, a functional offense, and clear communication, Sanders could have been thriving by now. Instead, his growth has been stalled. The locker room chemistry is shot, and the fan base has been given whiplash by constant reversals and half measures. The chaos isn't just on the field. It's baked into the entire operation. Insiders have said that ownership is getting restless. They've seen enough warning signs to know that if this doesn't turn around soon, they'll have no choice but to clean house. That means coaching. That means front office. That means anyone responsible for letting things spiral into this mess. The only thing standing between this franchise and total upheaval? A rookie quarterback who's been jerked around since the season started. No pressure, right? So the question becomes, can Stefanski actually adapt? Can he scrap his rigid schemes, let go of his ego, and build an offense around what Sanders does well, not what his outdated playbook demands? Because if this turns into another week of predictable, conservative, run, pass, punt football, it's going to be a disaster. The Browns don't need safe. They need answers. And they need them now. We've already seen what happens when teams ignore red flags and double down on broken systems. The locker room turns. The fans revolt. The media eats you alive. And that's exactly the road Cleveland is on. Right now, this franchise feels like it's one more loss away from a full-scale implosion. One more embarrassing Sunday, and it won't just be Stefanski under fire. It'll be everyone. And that brings us back to Sanders. He's the flashpoint, the one element that might still shift the energy, but only if he's set up to succeed. That means a new approach. That means designing a game plan that plays to his strengths, building trust with the offense, and sending a message to the rest of the locker room that there's still a future worth fighting for. Because if this experiment fails, if this decision blows up like everything else this season, it's over. There's no more goodwill, no more benefit of the doubt. It'll be time for Cleveland to gut the machine and start from scratch. It's all riding on this. And maybe that's why there's so much attention right now, not just from fans or beat reporters, but from other teams, rival execs, league analysts. Everyone wants to see what happens next. Because this isn't just another QB change. It's a test of whether this franchise has anything left in the tank. And let's be honest, the Browns have been here before. High expectations, young talent, hype, collapse. The cycle repeats unless something breaks it. And right now, Shedeur Sanders is the last real shot they've got. If you've been watching this train wreck unfold week by week, you already know how high the stakes are. But if you're new here, buckle up, because things in Cleveland are about to get even messier. Whether this move sparks a revival or just accelerates the downfall, one thing is certain. The Stefanski era is hanging by a thread, and the clock is ticking. Let's not sugarcoat it. This is now a full-blown crisis for Cleveland Browns. Kevin Stefanski's last-ditch decision to start Shedeur Sanders is less of a spark and more of a flare shot into the night sky, signaling to the rest of the league. We're out of options. And it shows. Because when you strip everything away, the talking points, the press conferences, the sound bites, what you're left with is a head coach whose offense is broken, a locker room that's splintering, and a franchise that keeps talking about building for the future while actively burning it down in the present. Let's look at where this team stands. 8 straight losses. An offense that can't find rhythm. A head coach stuck running the same plays like the league hasn't evolved in a decade. And through all of that, a revolving door at quarterback that sent mixed signals to the team and alienated the very talent they're supposed to be developing. The decision to sideline Sanders for Bailey Zapp, that wasn't just a misstep. It was a morale killer. It told the locker room, we don't know what we're doing. And more than that, it sent a message to Sanders himself. You're not the guy, at least not right now. And now, suddenly he is. That's not leadership. That's chaos disguised as strategy. It doesn't matter how much talent Shedeur Sanders has. If you build instability around a young quarterback, you are setting him up to fail. Period. This is the NFL, not a test kitchen. You don't get to throw rookies into the fire just to see if they can survive. You have to build the right environment before you hand them the reins. But Stefanski waited until the team had already unraveled. By the time he gave Sanders a start, the offense was already falling apart. The locker room's trust was already fraying, and the public's patience had snapped. This move doesn't feel empowering. It feels reactive, desperate, like Stefanski is trying to salvage anything. A spark, a highlight reel, a single win that can buy him a few more weeks. But here's the thing. Everyone sees it. Analysts, players, front office insiders. They all know what this really is. It's not a turning point. It's a lifeline, and it's already fraying. Because it's not just about who's under center. It's about the system that quarterback is being thrown into. And that's where the Browns are most broken. The offensive scheme has been ripped apart by critics all season long. Too predictable. Too conservative. No creativity. No adaptability. And most importantly, no results. The Browns are the team that everyone knows what to expect from. And in this league, that's a death sentence. You can't plug a dynamic rookie like Sanders into a system that's outdated and expect him to thrive. That's not how development works. And if the Browns keep insisting that their scheme isn't the problem, they're going to watch Sanders get buried under the same failures that have crushed this team all year. It's not just poor execution. It's poor identity. The Browns don't know who they are. They're not a power run team. They're not a pass-first air raid. They're not a gritty, defensive smash-mouth squad. They're a little bit of everything and a lot of nothing. And when a team doesn't know who it is, it can't lead. It can't inspire. It can't win. Now throw in reports. Yeah, those reports. The ones about front office frustration, ownership losing patience, and potential mid-season house cleaning. That's the background noise to this quarterback switch. This isn't a normal week of NFL drama. This is an organizational alarm bell going off. And right in the middle of it is a 21-year-old quarterback being told, "Save us." It's hard not to feel for Shedeur Sanders in this, because he didn't create this mess. He's not the one calling plays. He's not the one mismanaging preseason reps. He's not the one treating the quarterback room like a game of musical chairs. He's the one holding the grenade now that the pin's already been pulled. And don't think other teams aren't watching. That little rumor about a potential trade to Cincinnati, that's not just fan fiction. The Bengals have a need. Sanders has the upside. And if Cleveland keeps proving they can't develop him properly, someone else will take that chance. So now the Browns aren't just playing for wins. They're playing to keep their best young asset from walking out the door. This is what dysfunction does. It doesn't just cost you games. It costs you futures. It turns potential into wasted years. And that's where Cleveland is living right now. The stakes couldn't be higher. If Sanders performs and the Browns win, Stefanski might be able to sell the front office on a rebuild with him at the helm. But if this move blows up, if Sanders struggles, the team implodes, and the losses keep piling up, then everything is on the table. Coaching changes. Front office purges. A total teardown. And for a fan base that's been through more resets than it can count, that's the nightmare scenario. Because it means another year of uncertainty. Another year of waiting. And another year of asking why this team can't ever get it right. So as the Browns head into Week 4, here's what's really on the line. Not just a game, but the future of this franchise. And honestly, it shouldn't have come to this. The talent was there. The potential was real. But bad decisions, poor planning, and weak leadership turned what could have been a breakout year into a full-scale meltdown. And now, one rookie quarterback stands at the center of the storm. So what happens next? That's the million-dollar question. And the answer could determine whether the Browns finally break the cycle or whether they just rewrite the same tragic script one more time. If you've been holding your breath through this whole ordeal, now's the time to speak up. Do you think Stefanski survives this season? Is Shedeur Sanders the right choice, or the latest victim of Cleveland's chaos? Drop a comment and let's talk. Like the video if you've aged 5 years watching this season. And if you want more breakdowns of NFL disasters, quarterback drama, and coaching chaos, go ahead and hit subscribe, because the Browns may be in meltdown mode, but around here, we're just getting started.